this thing on? Because it's getting ready to be on.
Hello everybody and welcome to Bell Ringer. My name is Greg. Your guest name today is Catherine Muth. She works at the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance and is their rep at the Northland Workforce Training Center, which is really becoming a manufacturing campus for Buffalo Niagara and a destination for companies interested in the region. This is a great episode. We talk about manufacturing's history, its future, and why Buffalo is well prepared for it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Rate us on iTunes, and I think that is it. Enjoy the episode, guys. So tell us a little bit about the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance.
So the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance, also the BNMA, is the local manufacturing association for manufacturers. We have over 125 manufacturers as members and up to 180 members. We're constantly expanding that, and our connection with Northland is very much opening our membership base up. We do everything for our members from advocacy, networking opportunities, supply chain, gap management, things like that. And what we are now doing is working very closely with the Northland Workforce Training Center as one of the main operators of the center. So that has really led to a lot of more opportunities for the manufacturing environment.
Right. And you touched a little bit on your membership. Can you kind of describe that demographic to our listeners?
Absolutely. So the BNMA's history is a long one within the area, but not necessarily as named the BNMA. We had started as a machinist organization, really. So we have quite a few machining companies and shops that are parts of our membership base. We are mandated to have less than 20% of our members be non-manufacturers. So if you do join as a manufacturer for within our organization, you will, for the majority of the time, be meeting and networking with other manufacturers, which is a very unique aspect to our group. A lot of other associations don't have that. And what we're trying to do is really make sure that our manufacturers have a voice. We connect back with MACNY, which is a very large manufacturing association out of central New York. We work with MAST in the southern tier. And what we're trying to do is provide a voice for our manufacturers throughout this area.
Awesome. So we've talked a lot about the Northland Workforce Training Center on this podcast.
Yes.
I had Stephen Tucker here to talk. We host our annual meeting at their space.
Yes.
So I think our listeners know a bit about the training center, but from your perspective, what has BNMA's role been from the beginning? Mm-hmm. And let's get into the collaboration with industry to
Absolutely.
Curriculum and equipment purchasing, stuff like that.
So one of the things about this project that specifically attracted me about it is that this workforce development platform is radically different from the others that are happening. From the very beginning, the BNMA has been a part of developing the curriculum, developing the programs, ensuring that industry has a connection back to everything that's happening at the center itself. So for instance, the BNMA is one of the 4 operating managers of the organization, that they join Catholic Charities, Goodwill Industries, and the Buffalo Urban League to make up that group. The BNMA obviously is the voice of industry, and our goal is to ensure that industry is represented well. So that really comes down to what my job is, and that's doing all of our industry relations. So it's everything from ensuring that the manufacturing industry knows what's happening at Northland, understands how they can connect, how they can hire our students, and how they can help support the training that's going on. It also goes to our advisory councils. So we have advisory councils that are specific to each of the programs we train for at Northland, and the group itself comes in, reviews curriculum, advises on what should change, the ways in which we should be expanding our offerings. So for instance, we had our machining advisory council come in, and they said that safety is such a big issue in machine shops, and that when they were walking through our facility talking to our students and reviewing the curriculum, they did not feel like there was a heavy emphasis on safety and even 5S, which is really a part of lean manufacturing, which a lot of companies and organizations are moving towards to save money and be more efficient. So what we did is we talked to the schools, ensured and understood what they were talking about in terms of safety, and brought that back. And then from there, we're able to make some adjustments. So for instance, before, none of our students were required to have OSHA, and now moving forward, all of our students will be required to have the OSHA 10 certificate. So that was a directly related back to our conversation with industry. So the whole project is very important to the industrial partners, and what we're trying to do is just make sure they constantly have a voice. So anyone who's plugging into Northland has me as a resource there. I sit as an employee of the BNMA, but I do all of the Northland industry relations. So it's kind of this wonderful mix of bringing that side into this workforce development structure.
And just before we started recording, we were talking about Buffalo Manufacturing Works joining.
Yes.
Insight Consulting will be moving there. For Buffalo, what does it mean to have almost like a manufacturing campus where all these resources are housed together, and you can go from door to door and get pretty much everything you need under one roof?
Yeah, I think that this is the thing that Buffalo desperately needed for this industry. So what I was mentioning before was that with Buffalo Manufacturing Works there, a company can come there, work with them, come and plug in at the same time to what we're doing at Northland, meet our students, potentially hire our students. We even have some of the labs within Buffalo Manufacturing Works with high school students that can lead into a pipeline for our students. So, it's just a wonderful kind of way of allowing a company to take less time out of their day to meet all of the things that they need to do, going to all of these different organizations. And I think it's really going to help our manufacturers achieve their goals.
Right. So some of the skills that are being taught at Northland include like welding and electrical construction, which our listeners have an idea of in their head.
Yes.
But they're also teaching things like mechatronics, which people might not know what it is at all, or what industries can benefit from it. So tell our listeners, what is mechatronics, which industries can benefit, and why is that such an important talent pipeline that we're developing?
Absolutely. So our mechatronics program is a 1-year certificate program run out of SUNY Erie. In that program, students are going to learn everything from basic electrical construction work. So they're going to learn how to run electrical within a home, but then they're also going to learn how to apply those skills to the manufacturing industrial environment. So they're going to learn pneumatics, hydraulics, automatics, PLCs, robotics, and basically the way I like to describe it is they, as a technician, can come into your facility and help set things up, troubleshoot, ensure that the line is running appropriately and correctly. And this is very important to the industry, because as we continue to move more towards automation, these individuals are the ones that you will need in order to make sure that you are working effectively and well within your organization. So I feel that mechatronics is maybe a little undersold, but as you continue forward the next 5-10 years, that they're going to be the students who are going to be looking for the better opportunities. They will have more opportunities available to them because of the way that the industry is going. And if you come to our facility, which I recommend every listener to do, you can come and see kind of a little manufacturing environment that that these students all have to design. So what they can do is they go through and wire everything, and it looks like this small little manufacturing plant floor with cranes and robot arms, and they actually wired that all and made sure everything worked appropriately. And the little manufacturing floor actually creates a little product. So it's super interesting to kind of come see, and it gives a really great visual as to what the students can actually do with their skills.
Yeah. And I can say, having done the tour a handful of times, it's an incredible facility, and what they've done with the building, repurposing the old facility into what it is now, and all the classrooms. It's really an incredible project.
It is an incredible. It's unlike anything you'll ever see anywhere else. It's state of the art, and some of our manufacturers walk through and say that my place will never be as clean as this, and that's okay. We'll get up to that level, but it's wonderful.
When I had Stephen Tucker on, he was talking about when he I think he had just accepted the job, or he was touring Buffalo for the first time, and they drove by the facility on Northland Ave, and they said, "This is where it's going to be," and he said, "That's impossible. How are you going to do everything that you're saying there?" And now
It's
they
here.
have.
Yeah, it's amazing. I started in July this job, and when I started, we still didn't have a roof. So just the other day it was raining, and I was sitting in my office, and I didn't have rain on me, and that was an amazing experience. And so it's come such a long way in such a short time. We are within our first year. Our very first students are graduating in May, and it's just amazing how far an organization and a thought can come in such a short amount of time.
Right. So we started to touch on it, and I kind of want to zoom out to not just Northland, but manufacturing in general.
Yes.
I think that the myth or notion that American manufacturing is dead has been disproven over the last several years, and I don't think many people think that anymore. But you have to admit that it's changing, and
Absolutely.
It's going to change more in the next couple of years. So in what ways do you see the industry most significantly changing 5-10 years down the line?
I think that the introduction of automation will be the largest piece of that. And when I say automation, I think that does scare people, especially when you're looking at manufacturing as a career option. When we say automation, it doesn't mean a decrease in jobs. It just means a different skill set. And we are training for that at Northland. If you go and talk to a lot of the manufacturers in the region, they're going to tell you that they're still going to need machinists, electricians, and welders, that all of that can't be automated, and robots cannot replicate exactly what humans can do. So there will always be those positions, but there will be a push towards automating and making robots do more within a facility. And I think, again, Northland has recognized that, and we are training for those positions, and that is that mechatronics. It's even to a certain extent the electrical and the welding, because they get some of that experience. And we've had a lot of companies that already have robotic welders come in and want our students because of the breadth of knowledge that they are gaining in the program, and the ability to come back and create things within that manufacturing facility. That's really great. So I think that as we continue to see an evolution of the industry, it doesn't mean a decrease in jobs. It doesn't mean a decrease in viability of the industry itself. It just means that it's going to be a different skill set that you may require. And we are training for that and kind of preemptively prepared for it.
A different skill set, and I think, and from a lot of people I've talked to, maybe even a more attractive job, because it's not like your grandfather's manufacturing. Right. It's newer, cleaner, all those things.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a big misconception of manufacturing. Now, I grew up in Rochester, so no one hate me out there, but I grew up with Kodak and Xerox, and I worked there when I was younger to get an experience within manufacturing. And everyone would say, go to college and get a 4-year degree, and don't work here because this is not going to be lasting. Do you want to work in the dark? Of course, Kodak makes film, so it is dark, very different. But, coming back, I've now done a full circle. I'm back within manufacturing, and I walk into facilities every day, and it's so different from what you expect. Even yesterday, I was in a machine shop, a pure machine shop. They have lathes and mills, grinders, deburrers. It's a very traditional, what you would think when you think of machining. And that shop is immaculate. It's clean. It's bright. It has like a wonderful break room and places where you can work, but also relax if you need to and sit down. I think that there's a change in the environment, and people within the community should recognize that and say, like, this is a great opportunity to get into and start working within, because really we do need quite a few people to come in and do these types of jobs, and it's so different from your thoughts. So if you do come to Northland and have the opportunity to kind of walk the facility, you'll see a bit of what we're talking about, that new age manufacturing facility.
Yeah, I don't think you could do that tour and still leave with that same perception.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's still manufacturing, right? We're still using all of our machines and our welders, and people are running electrical, but it's a little different.
Yeah. So Buffalo has a rich history in manufacturing, a lot of that traditional manufacturing that people think of, the B-roll that plays in their head.
Yes.
But it's still today, a pillar of the local economy. There's over 60,000 people that work in the industry.
Yep.
how do you see Buffalo as well prepared for those changes that you kind of predicted seeing, and how can we be at the frontier of that?
Yeah. So I think a lot of our companies are ready for it. I think that they have been preparing, and part of the reason that they are so ready is because there has been a lack of people entering the workforce for manufacturing. And so they've had to innovate, they've had to push forward and change the way that they've been doing business in order to meet their demands. So many of the companies have already started to automate, they're changing a little bit of the ways in which they traditionally did business in order to meet what the supply and demand is requiring them to. So I think we are moving forward in that. And again, that doesn't mean that we don't need jobs. Right now, out of the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance members, we have 3,500 open jobs. And that's within organizations that have automated, that have implemented a lot of efficiencies. And so it's just understanding, again, that skill set that they require. And Northland has been constantly in contact with the industry to ensure that they're training the correct people in the correct ways, so that when you go to school there, you can go back out and work in these positions for 30, 40, 50 years to come.
Right. And as a region, for viability for companies, our organization tries to bring new companies here.
Absolutely.
Why do you see Buffalo or what do you say about Buffalo as a viable destination for those companies?
So I think there's a few things. First, we have a rich history of manufacturing. We have a lot of organizations here that are willing to support anyone new coming in. Two, we have this training center. So now we have recognized our deficiencies, as they say, and we are constantly working to ensure that industry has the correct number of people. If you take a step back and look at the whole country, this problem of labor is not an issue focused only on Western New York. It's also across the country. So we're actually doing something to make a difference here. So come here and use the students for training, because they're ripe for the challenge and they're ready for you to come. And they're going to be prepared for those new age things. And then three, I think that you're here, which is a really important thing. Yeah. And coming from the background of working in, the chambers and the associations, it's really great to kind of have that support of these other organizations as well.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time and this great interview. Before I let you go, we have a few fast, hard-hitting, blizzard round questions.
All right.
If you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be?
Vanilla.
Okay. Book or TV show that you would recommend?
Game of Thrones, because it's happening right now.
I did this interview with Frank Ewing last week. He was our most recent episode. And so far you have the same first two answers.
Oh, goodness. There you go.
Text or phone call?
Phone call.
Okay. Bills or Sabres?
Ooh, I grew up a Bills fan, so I'll always say them first.
I forgot Rochester.
I know, right? So Sabres a little difficult. Like my mom is from here, and we grew up with football more so than hockey. Although I have to say this last year was disappointing, and I think I watched more hockey games than football games proportionately. But I would always be a Buffalo Bills fan ahead of a Sabres fan.
Okay, that's my pick too. Hiking or skiing?
Hiking.
And last and most important question, chicken wings, drumstick or flat?
Flat, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Bell Ringer is a podcast by Invest Buffalo Niagara, the region's privately funded, nonprofit marketing and economic development organization. Please rate this podcast, follow our social media channels, and read our blog at buffaloniagara.org for the best of Buffalo Niagara. Come grow your business with us.